Bing, 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 bing. Bing, bing, bing. Tea will be spilled this video. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Occasionally, I do a Q&A because you guys have a lot of questions and I am more than willing to talk. So I asked you on YouTube in the community section to leave me some questions, and if someone has already asked the question that you were going to ask, to give them a thumbs up so that I see it better. Like, it gets put at the top for me so that I don't miss like the ones y'all really want to know the answers to. So let's not waste any time. We'll get right into it. Michelle Miller asks, and this is the top question, what percentage of your revenue is soap and sales, and how much is YouTube and sponsorships? Any suggestions for introverts and marketing ourselves? Marketing is not my forte. First of all, I've only ever spent like $5 on marketing, and that was when I was like 16 years old. I was just selling soaps on Etsy, and they were like, Etsy had just released this new ad feature, and they're like, you can, you know, spend whatever you want and we'll filter your soaps in at the top of the search page. And I did that, and I don't think I got any sales from it, and that was the one time I ever spent money on marketing. So as far as introverts go, and marketing yourselves, I would say probably using something that was picture-based, like Instagram, I would think would be a good idea, because then you're not like having to talk directly to people. You can just take nice pictures and they can just appreciate them. So I'm not very like advanced in marketing my own self, I don't feel super qualified, but hopefully that helps. And as far as like percentage of my income being one or the other, well, that's a really complicated question, and let me tell you why. First of all, I don't get paid promotions very often. I'm pretty sure that in the lifetime of this channel, I've only ever done 2. Now, occasionally companies will send me free product, and sometimes I'll just add those into the video because I like the product, but as far as being paid to place a product in the video, it's only ever happened twice. So paid promotion, pretty much non-existent. YouTube ad revenue, that fluctuates, and also it's like, it's really hard for me to tell you because there's gross, like the gross amount of money that I get in, and then there's net, and then also I have to pay a third party for placing the ads on my videos because I'm like part of a third party YouTube channel network. It's called Style Hall. So they take 30% of my paycheck every month anyway. By the way, I'm ditching them. Don't ever go with Style Hall. If we're going just like strictly by gross, not my actual paycheck, like what I take home at the end of the month, gross wise, I'd probably be guessing 15 to 25%. And I understand that that's a very big gap, but I don't know the numbers off the top of my head. And it would be kind of difficult for me to look that up because it fluctuates so much from month to month, but I would say 15 to 25%. That was a really long answer to a very short question. Second question is from Kristen C. It says, do you see soap making a long-term job? Have you ever thought about opening an actual store to sell your soaps in? Yes, I do see soap making as a long-term job. I will continue to do this as long as I can. I have thought about opening up a storefront a few times right now. I mean, obviously all my sales are online, but I think it would be really, really fun to have like an actual location where people could come and maybe even like do classes and stuff like that. I don't know, that's a really big step for me, and I don't know when I would be willing to take it, but I am open to the idea. The next question is from Bree, and it says, do you plan on having any more children? And tell us about your wedding day. I feel like we haven't heard much about that. So yes, we do plan on having more kids. I am the oldest of 10, for those of y'all who are new around here, so I grew up with like a lot of siblings. I love kids, I think they're great. If they're all like Lily, it's gonna be just an absolute fairy tale. So my wedding day, that is something I don't think I ever really like discussed on this channel. Caleb and I, we got engaged in March, and then we got married in May. So we only had 2 months to plan everything. I got married in my parents' backyard. They live on 11 acres of land. It was springtime. My mom has a huge cottage garden that was just blooming its little brains out. There were butterflies and bumblebees everywhere. We put all the decorations up ourselves, and we rented a few chairs. I don't think there was more than like 70 people there. It was a very, very, very small affair. My dad got certified to marry us like 2 weeks before, so he actually walked me down the aisle and performed the ceremony, which was honestly just amazing. I only had one bridesmaid, my best friend Caroline. You guys have probably seen Caroline. If you've been here a while, you saw her in old videos, but she and I used to have a second YouTube channel whenever we had more free time. And then Caleb had one of his best friends as well, and then we just had popcorn at the end, which was awesome, and like some of our favorite cookies. And our friend who is like trying to become a baker, she's in the process of getting her small business together, made the cake for us, and it was beautiful. It was a lovely day, and we drove away in Caleb's little car and had Taco Bell for dinner. It was marvelous. It was really marvelous. I regret nothing. Ashley says, can we please see Caleb make an entire batch of soap start to finish? That's really funny. I will tell him that it has been requested, and if we can convince him to do it, then we totally should. Nick asks, do you use your own soaps, and how do they compare overall to something like soft soap, liquid soap? So I've never used soft soap before, but I've used other liquid soaps. So I tailored my soaps to be like kind of multifunctional. They're very hard, so they last a long time in the shower, but they're also like pretty moisturizing and pretty bubbly, so like I wanted all of the everything. I do use my own soap. I also use other handmade soaps that people send me, so I'm not like an exclusive brand snob to my own stuff. I love all handmade soap from other artisans and from myself. So I do use my own, but I also use other people's too. Okay, so I have tried to answer this question like 4 times on camera. I swear I have been here like 20 minutes. The question is from Jill, and it is, what would you change about how those in the soaping community treat each other? And I tend to get really worried about this, so I'm gonna try to keep this simple. I would pump the soaping community with so much generous courage, because I think being a generous person requires a lot of bravery, because you're putting yourself out there on the line. Generous with business tips, generous with design, generous with fragrance oils, generous with what mica companies you use, generous with comments on other people's videos and compliments towards other people's creations. I would just pump that into the soap community, because I do feel like sometimes that vocal minority crops up and it's just a really discontented place sometimes. Now, the majority, I think, of soap makers and the soap community at this point in time is a happy and a supportive place, but occasionally in like Facebook groups and stuff, that vocal minority comes up and it can be really, really sad. So that's what I would do. I would give people the courage to be kind. And just as a little teeny tiny sidetrack, I will say one of the worst pieces of business advice I ever got when I was like 17 was to never share anything with anyone. That's what a very advanced soap maker had told me, is that you don't share your fragrances, don't share your colorants, don't share your methods, and definitely never share your recipe. And that was kind of like, that was just the general idea in Soapland, was just like, keep all your cards close and don't share anything with anyone, because what she told me was, if you do, there won't be any place for you here. You will be, you know, up and down, you'll crash and burn so quick. So hold your cards close. And I did for a while. It wasn't me, and that's not who I am. And it was harder for me to make videos back then because I wanted so bad to tell people what I was doing. And like when I found a really good red colorant, like people kept asking me, whoa, I've never seen a red like that before. Where did you get that red? Where did you get that red? And I wasn't able to share, and I hated that. And so one day I just decided I'm gonna cast my fears of not being a good soap maker, of losing, you know, whatever business I have because all my secrets are out and people are just gonna copy all my soaps and I'll be irrelevant. I'm just gonna cast those aside and I'm gonna start sharing. And the more I shared, the more successful the channel was, the more successful the business was. I grew because I gave. I did not decrease, I increased. And I wish I could just share that with every single soap maker out there, that love and generosity, it is fuel, it is power, it is not something that is gonna tear you down and make you weak in the end. So that's what I would do for the soaping community. I would pump a lot of generosity, a lot of love for other people into that, and I think it would make the soap community an even happier place to be. Woo, that took way too long for me to say all that. I'm sorry. So Princess Skulls rare asks, how much inventory did you start your business with? Did you wait until you had as much as you thought you would sell before launching? Do you think having your own site is better when starting out? Or, ooh, let's see, ooh, there's a lot of questions here. Let me start with the first one. How much inventory did you start out with when you launched your business? I think I started out with a whopping 50 bars of soap. Which for me was a lot. That was like 10 different types. And I used to make batches that were only 5 soaps a piece. Yeah, they were 1 pound batches. So they were only 4 to 5 soaps a piece. So that was a lot of soap for me, okay? Did you wait until you had as much as you thought you would sell before launching? I thought whenever I started selling that I would have some left over, and that was my goal. And I did. I had plenty left over. I think when I launched, I only sold like 2 or 3 bars. At first I launched on my own website, and then I moved over to Etsy like 2 months later because my own website, like I would get like 1 view a day over there because nobody knew who I was. So then I moved to Etsy, and when I launched there, I didn't get any sales the first month, and then I think I got 1 sale like the 3rd month. It was slow going, folks. She asks also, do you think having your own site is better when starting out, or should you start with Etsy or something like that? So I always tell new people, start with an online marketplace, especially because nobody knows your name yet. So how are you going to be getting traffic over to your website? I mean, your best bet then would be found in like marketing, I guess, or sharing stuff on Instagram and using tags so that strangers find your Instagram and then they go over to your website. But you're gonna get a lot more traffic on a place like Etsy because then you can properly tag your stuff and people are looking to purchase. They're not just looking for nice photos, they're looking to purchase your products because your product is tagged with like amethyst soap or something like that. So I always say, start in a marketplace until you outgrow the marketplace, until you have enough repeat customers that you don't need the marketplace anymore, which is what happened with me and Etsy. I just outgrew it. I didn't really need their help because all of my customers were coming from YouTube. I know some people who are still selling on Etsy though and love it. So I loved Etsy. I think they are an absolute must for beginners. They do take part of what you are making, but it is worth it with the amount of traffic they are going to be sending to your stores. Because even when I left Etsy last year, I was still getting like half the traffic I was getting to the store was still from Etsy. Now that didn't necessarily translate into sales because I was doing releases and stuff like that, but I was still getting tons and tons and tons of traffic to my shop because of them, so I definitely recommend them. Amy asks, how did you and Caleb meet and how did he propose? So Caleb and I met at a homeschool dance. He was part of a class that always held dances like in the summertime, and I had a friend that was in the class, so we went with her. And as soon as I saw him, it was magic. I was in love. Like, I'm talking like classic head over heels in love. I came home and cried on my best friend Caroline's floor because I thought I was never gonna see him again. And I was like, he's so perfect. I love him so much. And Caleb didn't like me at all. Like, we're the classic tale of opposites attract because I am happy and excited, and he was like Mr. Darcy. He was somber and standoffish, and he thought I was like way too crazy and spirited and was not interested. But I went to a few more dances and I think I grew on him because here we are now. And he proposed to me in a very quiet way. So like much like we did this sort of casual yet really pretty sort of country garden wedding with lots of like little details and not many people, he kind of proposed in the same way. So there was like a favorite park that we had, and he packed a little blanket and we sort of talked about our goals and our future. And he had bought me a James Avery Claudia ring because I always wanted one, and that was actually my engagement ring. Loved it. It was like the most powerful engagement ring he could have given me because it spoke right to me. I'd always wanted one. And he just like pulled it out of his pocket and was like, Catherine Elizabeth White, will you marry me? And I was like, yes! And that was basically it. There wasn't any like fireworks. Our friends and family weren't even around. It was just us in that moment, and there were dandelions around, and it was really nice. I always opted for the quieter idea of an engagement because a marriage is between two people. It's not between you and your mom and your dad and all your family and friends. So I really liked the idea of being proposed to alone in solitude, the same way that your marriage will be conducted like the rest of your life with just you two. So not to say that it's bad to be proposed to in any other way. This is just a personal preference. So Twilight asked me, she says, I've watched some of your older videos and found you almost exclusively read old books. What is your favorite and what newer book do you like? So my favorite book of all time is probably The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I really love that, but like it is a close tie with the Anne of Green Gables series. Like Anne might beat it out actually. Like I have a lot of favorites, but Anne probably beats that out. So Anne, and then as far as new books are concerned, oh my gosh, I'm trying to think about the last time I read a new book. Oh my gosh, like, and I read this question last night and was like, I'm definitely going to answer this. I'm gonna get a new book that I really like, and I totally can't remember. If I think of one post-processing, I'll leave the name down here or something, because I am drawing blanks right now. Fiona asks, did you ever worry about not being able to make a living from royalty soaps? Did you have a backup route involving school or work? So I started royalty soaps really hoping that I could buy a car. That was like my ultimate goal. I didn't have like super long-term plans necessarily. I just thought as a single woman, rather independently, I would start a business, and then I kind of expected that when Caleb and I started having kids that it would peter out. Like I just figured that people wouldn't be that interested or something. So after getting married to him, I expected to be like a stay-at-home mom, and my mom homeschools, and I really like the idea of homeschooling, so I thought I would homeschool my kids, and I'd plan on having quite a bit of them. So I thought I might, you know, do some blogging or something like that in my free time. But before I got married and before Caleb was even in the picture, I had planned to do this for a while, to do soap for as long as it would take me, and then after 5 years of doing soap, if it wasn't a profitable business, to go ahead and shut it down. And then after I did that, I had like 3 different options. I was either going to be a massage therapist, which I still think would be a really fun thing to do, but I was going to start some other handmade type industry thing, or, and this is probably going to be the thing that will shock you the most, I wanted to be a military nurse. And I don't even know what that looks like. Like as an adult, I don't even know if that's a real job anymore. But all I kept seeing was like battlefield nurses like Florence Nightingale and me, you know, going out there to help the poor men that had fallen down. And I don't know, I'm a romantic at heart, so I really don't think I ever even thought that out. But being a nurse and helping and serving others in that way was definitely something that I considered, and doing so for the military, I guess I just thought I'd be exposed to more, I don't know, romance, adventure. But all of my like career paths throughout the years have always been central to like helping other people, like serving in some way. Yes! Okay, this next one is from Becky. She says, how did you decide what shipping company to use? And what made you decide to ship globally? How difficult was it to figure everything out? Okay, so shipping, you guys. I have found the best shipping thing ever, because shipping is difficult. So all I have to do is enter in how much each item weighs. So like my bars of soap are normally like anywhere between like 7.2 to 7.5 ounces ish. So I enter that, and then I enter their dimensions. So like how thick it is, how tall it is, and how wide it is on all of my listings, which, you know, I can create batch listings and stuff. So that's real easy to do. And then the shipping thing calculates everything else for me. And I tell them that I want to help my customers save money. So like I'll tell them, yes, I want to use flat rate shipping when possible and stuff like that. But they calculate everything, and then I get to download it all in one big format. I really wish I had known about this like from the very beginning. So the company is called Shipping Easy, and it's integrated with Etsy, it's integrated with Shopify and Big Cartel, and pretty much any other e-commerce like web hosting platform. It's integrated with all of them, and I just, oh, I could not rave about it enough. And I'm actually pretty sure that I keep seeing, like, I'm thinking at the top of the page, it's like refer a friend and give them $5 off their first month or something. So it is a monthly subscription, but you also get like discounted shipping rates. So for me personally, it pays for itself within the first, like, I would say if you ship more than 50 orders a month, it'll probably end up paying for itself at that point. So highly recommend. That's what takes care of all of my shipping, and it's wonderful. So I will leave you guys, if I can, if I'm right about there being like a sign up thing where you get $5, I will leave you guys a link down below for Shipping Easy if you're interested in using that for whatever small business you may have. So this one is from The Wolves Run Wild. They say, you mentioned in a recent video that not all of your soaps turn out right. What do you do with the failed batches? If the soap is like just ugly or the scent smells weird, I give them to my mom because she has got plenty of bodies to clean over at her house. However, if the soap has turned out wrong because there is like a chemical problem, like it's lye heavy or something like that, that is disposed of. Nobody touches that. It's just counted as a loss. Elizabeth asks, is there anything in the soaping world that you think is completely overhyped? A fragrance, technique, style, anything? I don't know about overhyped because like everybody has such unique like styles and stuff, but I've never been a big fan of patchouli. A lot of people like patchouli and the smell of it, but I don't know, I don't like it. Caroline, my best friend who has snuck onto this thread, says, what is your least favorite comment to see in the YouTube comment section? 99% of my comments are so sweet. Like, you guys are the absolute best. And occasionally somebody will sneak something in there that I think was definitely meant to harm somebody, but I don't know, most of the time hate comments always just kind of make me giggle. But I will say the one that like it barely ever happens anymore. It used to happen all the time, but the one that gets under my skin a little bit is when people compare my soaps to other people's soaps or vice versa. As an example, somebody saying, oh, I saw blah 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 from this channel over here make a soap just like this, but yours looks so much better than theirs does. Or alternatively, oh, blah 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 from this channel just made this soap and hers looks so much better than yours does. That one irritates me a little bit just because I don't feel like people and artists should be compared like that. Like every single artist works really hard on each thing that they make, and there's no need to say that. I think complimenting without comparing is a skill worth learning. Instead of saying, I like yours better than theirs, you can simply say, I love yours. Oh my gosh, this is so funny. So Tofino Storm, I really hope I'm saying that right, says, since becoming one of the most famous soapers on YouTube, have you ever run into, either virtually or in person, the soaper who shamed you in the soaping forum when you were a teenager? If so, how did you handle it? Or have you imagined how you would handle it if it ever were to happen? So the soap maker that shamed me was actually in Australia. So I think it'd be really hard for me to run into them unless I went over there. I've never confronted anybody who did anything like that. There have been other people who have shamed me or been unkind or generally put me down in groups or whatever. I've never confronted any of them, and I hope that if I ever met them face to face that I would be very gracious, that I wouldn't bring it up unless they felt the need to talk about it or explain or something. I hope I would generally conduct myself in a loving and an appropriate manner. Amber Thomas asked, does Caleb have another job or does he solely help you? So Caleb exclusively helps me. He did have another job. He was actually in construction, but now he works with me. He quit his job in August of last year. So right before Lily was born, he quit. And that was, oh man, that was nerve-wracking for both of us because we were hoping that we could make this work. And it was a really scary kind of jump in the dark, like holding hands, jumping in the dark, going, hope this works, taking a leap. And it did. And we have not regretted a thing since. It has been an amazing experience working with him. I've had a couple of people tell me like, oh my gosh, I couldn't be with my husband all day long. Caleb and I have a really interesting, I guess, couples dynamic. I don't ever really get sick of him. Well, that's a lie. I get sick of him sometimes, but not that much. Like, you know, I mean, just like every other roommate, you're always gonna get irritated with something they do, but I love him working with me. I like getting to see him all the time. It's really great. There's so many questions here, you guys. I wish I could answer like every single one of them. What I might do is I might come back and use these questions as like topics in the next like upcoming videos and stuff. This video is already over 50 minutes long. Oh my gosh, editing it is going to be a nightmare. Oh, one more, I'm sorry. What's the story behind you choosing Lily's name? Is from Graciela de la Cruz, which that's such a fun last name to say. Lillian is my great-grandmother's name, so just, it's honorary, I guess. All right, I'm seriously done this time. I've talked so much. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you care to. Leave me a comment down below, and I hope you guys have an amazing day. And until next time, bye for now.